Julie from Vinylize It has sent me some acrylic shapes so that I could make a video to show you how you can decorate them with vinyl. This is a 2.5 inch circle shape. This shape is called a vintage shapes and it's 3 inches tall. This is the anchor, 3 inches tall. A rectangle, which is 3.5 inches tall by 1.25 inches in width, and a mason jar. And the mason jar is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to also be writing a coordinating blog post for this so that you'll have all the measurements for the shapes. Julie does have a number of cutting files that she provides for free when you purchase these shapes from her. In this video, I'm showing you how to apply the shapes that I have created that are available to you as well. In the software, I'm going to show you how to bring in the designs that I've created for these acrylic shapes. What I've done is I've created them for the vintage shape and for the mason jar. So first I'll work on the vintage shape. These are SVG files that are also available in DXF format. So I'm just going to open this because I've saved it on the hard disk of my computer. So the first one that I'm working on is the vintage shape. So that's this one here, vintage shape with circle for monogram. And if you look at the measurements here, you'll see that this is 2.984, just slightly less than 3 inches. And that is what I found works the best because you want it to be just a tiny little bit smaller than the shape to fit on there nicely. Otherwise it overhangs a little bit. So this is the right size for your shape, comes in the right size. And I've designed my own circular monogram font that you can get in my Etsy shop. I'm going to be including links for all of these items below the video. So to put these on your acrylic shape, what you want to do is you want to put them on the back side so that they show through to the front. You're going to want to flip your images, both the design that's going to go on the shape and the monogram. I'm going to mirror my images, so I'm going to click the replicate icon here at the top of the screen, and I'm going to mirror both of these to the right. So now I no longer need this piece and I don't need this piece either. So I'm just going to take those off the mat so that they don't cut out. There are several different ways that you can use to choose which items you want to cut. You can either take pieces off the mat that you don't want to cut right now because the program will only cut what's on the mat, or you can choose to cut by color. So I'm going to choose to cut by color to show you how to do that. So now I'm going to go to my cut settings window. When you open an SVG shape in Silhouette Studio, the cut lines are not enabled. So you need to click the cut settings icon that I'm pointing to right now. You need to choose your pieces, and then you need to click cut under the cut style. Now you're going to see that there's a red outline. Wherever you have a red outline, that is where the machine will cut. I'm going to go into the advanced portion of this. So I'm going to click on vinyl because that's the material I'm using. If I needed to edit any of these to make changes, I could do that in the editing portion here. Every machine is going to be slightly different. When I cut vinyl, I use a blade setting of 2, and I leave these settings the way they are. You might need to increase or decrease your thickness slightly to make a difference for your machine. Now I'm going to click Advanced under the cut conditions so that I can cut by line color. And you can see now that I have a purple line color and I have a gray line color. So the first one I'm going to cut is the purple. So I'm going to clear the checkbox for the gray, and only the purple item will be cut right now. So the first thing I'm cutting is the purple portion. I've put some lavender Oracle 651 vinyl on my mat because I'm using smaller pieces than full pieces, so I'm just using my mat for the vinyl. I have my blade set to a cut depth of 2. And I'm going to click Send to Silhouette in the software. Okay, so that's done cutting. And yes, that is normal. The sound of the machine cutting, it is that loud. So I'll show you close up how that cut. And you'll see that there's the section for the monogram. So the next part I'm going to cut is the gray. And I have two pieces of the gray here. I have the 651 silver gray and the 631 silver gray. I'll show you what the differences are. The 651 is slightly shinier than the 631. The 631 is a matte product. So I'm going to use the 651 on my project because it looks nicer. And what I'm going to do in the software is I'm going to move the gray, so I'm going to move the purple piece over because it will cut, when it cuts out, it will cut in the same position on the mat as it is on the screen. So I don't want it to cut that far over because my piece is quite small. So I'm putting this on the mat. And remember, if you're using a mat with vinyl, to press load cut mat, not load material. So now I'm going to go back to my cut screen. And I'm going to clear the checkbox for purple, and I'm going to check gray so that it cuts out my gray piece now. And I'm going to click Send to Silhouette. And it will cut out my circular monogram. And you can see how it's done that. Next, I'm going to be cutting the mason jar. So I'm going to delete all of these pieces from my screen because I don't need them anymore. And I'm going to open up the mason jar, which is this one here, mason jar with circle for monogram. And here's what that design is. It has a chevron design on the mason jar, and the monogram is in purple this time. And I'm going to be cutting those out using turquoise and lime tree green Oracle vinyl. And I have to remember to mirror my images, so I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to click the replicate item on the menu, and I'm going to choose mirror to the right. And I don't need these pieces anymore. Oops. It's these, I can move them out of the way, off the mat. And this time I'll cut the purple piece first, which will actually be in the lime tree green. I'm going to come up to my cut settings window again, and I'm going to choose advanced. I'm just going to double check because it changed this now to copy paper. I'll always double check what material your machine is ready to cut. I want it to cut vinyl. All of these settings are fine. I'm going to use the line colors. Now the two of them have a line color of black, so I'm going to change that. If you see that happen, this is what you would need to do. You choose the item that you want to change the color for, come up to your line colors here, and change that. So I'm going to make this one turquoise, and I'm going to change this one to lime tree green or a lime green. Then it will be easy for me to remember what I'm doing while I'm cutting. So you see now I don't need a black cut line. I'm just going to clear that. I'm doing the lime color first, so I'm going to clear the turquoise box, and I'm going to cut my lime piece. Putting the lime colored vinyl on my mat. And I will click Send to Silhouette. So that has cut out the monogram shape. And the next piece I need to cut is the turquoise. So I'm just going to move the lime piece off. I'm going to move the turquoise piece over so that it fits on the vinyl that I have on my mat. I'm going to come back to my cut settings window. I'm going to clear the checkbox for lime and I'm going to choose turquoise. And then I'll click Send to Silhouette to cut this one. And that's done. So you can see that that's been cut out. So now I'm going to weed all those pieces and show you how they're put onto the acrylic pieces. Okay, so I didn't draw weeding lines, weeding boxes around my pieces, so I'm just going to cut them out with a pair of scissors, and then I can have the leftover pieces for other projects. Normally I create weeding lines, but this time I didn't. These are smaller projects. So this first one that I'm weeding is the vintage shape, the one with the zebra stripe design. I love weeding. It's so relaxing to me. So you do want to pay attention to what you're weeding. And one way to tell is first remove that little dot, which is going to be for the ring, the key ring. And then you'll know where to go from there. Which pieces come out and which ones stay. So you do want to remember to be careful. Vinyl does rip fairly easily. And it gets stuck everywhere. If you dig into the backing a little bit or the pieces that you're taking away, it doesn't matter, of course, because those are not going to be staying with your design. Okay, so that one is done. And so then the monogram, the circular monogram that's going with that is going to be this silver one. So I will weed this one. Stubborn little pieces. Okay, so this is done. So I'm just going to take my little pieces of transfer tape, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the circular monogram inside the circle so that this is done, and you just eyeball it. Oops. You want it to be straight, and as for the placement within the circle, you eyeball it and it's going to be good. And that I should have placed that a little bit more so that this piece will be included, but it will be fine. I'll be able to deal with that in a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this protective paper that's on the acrylic pieces. They're shipped this way so that they don't get damaged or scratched. So I'm just using a craft knife to loosen the edge a little bit. and then I can easily pull that away. I want to be careful not to scratch that, of course. So it's just the very edge. So now that I have that, I can pull the vinyl design off of the backing. And the most important place will be where that little keyhole is. And you see how that's going to look? So I have this squeegee that I use to burnish it better than with my fingers, to really make sure that's well adhered to the acrylic piece. And then I can start to pull away the transfer tape. And if you find you have pieces staying behind, just push back and forth a little bit until it's easy to remove. Actually worked very well. And this is the piece that you have at the end. Let me put something dark behind that so you can see it better. Actually, something light would show it better. It's quite stunning, actually. Okay, and so now I will do the mason jar. And again, pull away the little circle for the keyhole first. And then you just pull away the pieces that should not be there. And one last little piece. And then we have the monogram. Here's my transfer tape again, and I'll put this down in the corner where it will show up on the mason jar. Burnish that down, pull it away from the backing, and then place the circular monogram where it's going to be in the mason jar. Now this one I made a little bit smaller. You can make it smaller or larger, whatever you like. I just did it a little bit different to show that you can do it differently. It doesn't have to be the same size as what I had on the first one. You can leave more of a gap between the letters and the design, or less. Okay, so that one is done, and I just need to find my mason jar. So the mason jar has a little bit of a cut at the top where the rings of the jar lid would be. So that's why the pieces are pulling away a little bit separately there. There, and this side. Oh, I guess I missed a piece on the other side. So since this is obviously the front of the piece, I'm going to put the vinyl on the back. And again, burnish this down really well. Pull the vinyl away from the backing and then place it on the mason jar. To see what I'm doing, this is why you need clear transfer tape for this type of project. And once you've got it where you want it, just place it down and then burnish it. And again, start pulling away. And there's that one done. And when you turn it around, this is what it looks like. So here are both of the pieces again. Let me put this on this one and this here. Gives a little bit more room. There we go. So that's what those look like. Now I have another little tip, and that's these pliers. Because have you ever destroyed your fingernails trying to open key rings of this type? Well, these are the pliers that will save your nails, because you just press on it in the middle and it opens it up. So then you can easily put one of these key rings through a shape like this to create a keychain. And you can add your keys that way too. Whoops. So you just need to pull it out enough to get it to the hole. And then you're all set. And now you have a keychain. And your fingernails didn't get destroyed. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Thanks so much for watching.